Okay.
Thank you, Amber. We want to welcome everybody to the Rotary District 5870 Central Texas Zoom series, Staying Connected. Thank you to all the District 5870 Rotarians, all of the Rotarians in other districts around the zone and around the world. It's really great to have you guys. Hold on one second, my chat. We especially want to extend a special thank you to RI Director-elect Susie Howe and General Secretary John Hewko for being here today, and all the RI staff. We really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. Now, you are being recorded, so we just want to tell everybody we've had some funny backgrounds before, so we want to let everybody know you are being recorded. So whatever you're doing in the background, whatever's in the background is going to be living on the internet forever. So just want to make that note. We're also, please make sure, yeah, I like your background, you keep yours. Please mute yourself, make sure that you're muted at all times. Don't get offended if we mute you. We have the controls to do so. So please, again, we're going to keep everybody muted the entire time. We may encounter some internet issues. This is the time of Zoom where everybody in the whole world's on the internet and on Zoom right now. So if there is a chance where there's some internet breakage, don't hang up. We're going to fix this and get right back to the program. So stay tuned and just hang on there. Hope we won't have any. Amber mentioned before, we are going to have a Q&A after the talk. So if you have any questions at any time during this entire program, go ahead and just put very clearly, mark the question, who it's for, in the chat section. We will be monitoring those questions throughout the entire series, and we'll make sure that we get to your question. If it's a repetitive question, we might just sum it up and do a generalized question, but we'll promise you we'll get to your questions. Today is going to be an awesome episode. We will be hearing from Rotary International and the Rotary Foundation General Secretary John Hewko. It is an honor to have you with us. We know you're very busy, so we really appreciate you taking the time to be with us, to talk with us. And we'll be hearing from Secretary Hewko in just a few minutes. After that, we will have a Q&A, and we hope to have some really good questions. So please write all the questions you want, and it'll be an awesome Q&A. And then after that, we have some really good announcements at the very end. So make sure to stay tuned to the very end to hear some good announcements. And with all that, I think it's now time to go to District Governor Jim Henry. Jim?
Thanks, Patrick. And I too want to welcome everybody that's here, all our visitors and guests from around the world, the USA. I see a lot of my district governor classmates. Welcome to you all. I know a lot of the classmates for District Governor-elect Rick Stacy are on. Welcome to y'all. This is going to be a wonderful day. I want to welcome all the Rotarians from District 5870. Thank you all for showing up for this, and for all our visitors. A special welcome to, as Patrick said, our District Director-elect, or our Rotary International Director-elect, Susie Howe. And also Helen Reisler, welcome back again from the Rotary Club of New York City. Helen spoke with us 2 or 3 weeks ago on her inspiring story during 9/11 and her time as the Rotary representative to the UN. So really thank everybody for being here. And I want to give especially our District 5870 folks an update on where we are on our district grant for COVID-19. You know, we had a little presentation on that last week. We have, as of Monday, to our 3 hospital organizations, St. David's, Seton, and Baylor Scott White, we will be sending out their check. The initial check that we're sending out is $59,090 to be divided among those 3 hospital organizations for the sole purchase of purchasing PPEs, protective equipment for all of their staff. So that check is going out Monday. We were also notified on, I believe it was Wednesday of this week, that our application for the district, or for the Rotary International Disaster Response Fund, had been granted, and we now have the funds. We have the funds in our bank account. So those funds will be transferred over to the way we're doing this is we're sending it to my home club, which is the Rotary Club of Northwest Austin, to distribute to all of the hospital organizations. So in another probably week to 10 days, the second round of checks will go out. Bottom line is we will have contributed about $90,000 in our local DDF to these local hospitals. In addition, as I had mentioned earlier, our district and DDF has contributed $25,000 to the Rotary International Disaster Response Fund to be used for COVID-related activities around the world. So an update on that, your money that you've contributed to the Rotary Foundation is going to good use. It's really going to be used to help our healthcare officials protect each other, protect themselves, protect the patients, and any of your friends or families that are being treated. So once again, kudos to everyone in our district that has given to the Rotary Foundation in the past and is currently honoring their commitments for this year. And as Patrick said, also, I want to also welcome General Secretary Hewko with us today. As y'all know, he is the General Secretary and Chief Executive Officer of Rotary International and the Rotary Foundation. Now, some of the information we sent out to everybody, I'm going to repeat a little bit of that, but he's been in this position since 2011. He oversees a staff of more than 800 full-time Rotary International employees, and I know many of the staff are on today, and welcome to y'all too. Out of the office in Evanston, Illinois, the world headquarters, plus 7 other international offices throughout the world. And again, he's been doing this since 2011. In addition to that, and Secretary John, I know they won't hold it against you, but he's also a lawyer. And he's a graduate of Harvard University School of Law. He's got a master's in modern history from Oxford University and a bachelor's in government and Soviet studies from Hamilton College in New York. His accomplishments, both before Rotary and in Rotary, are way too numerous to mention. We wouldn't have time to even finish what we're trying to do today. So without further ado, General Secretary John, the stage and the floor is all yours.
Well, thank you so much, Jim, for that very warm and generous welcome. Delighted to be here with Rotarians of District 5870, Central Texas. First of all, let me just congratulate all of you for the tremendous work that you have done in terms of the COVID response. I mean, it was just extraordinarily heartwarming to hear Jim go through the extraordinary efforts that your fellow Rotarians have put into supplying local hospitals with PPE. And I think one of the sort of most satisfying parts of this job is that I get to see Rotary in action throughout the world. And the work that you're doing, which is extraordinary, is being replicated 535 times in each of our Rotary districts around the world. In fact, I've been just stunned and amazed at the reaction of our Rotary world in the face of this crisis, how Rotarians have reacted with grace, with energy, with compassion, with efficiency to really respond and make a difference in this time of crisis. So again, thank you so much for having me. Delighted to be able to be with you this afternoon. Delighted Director-elect Susie's with us, and as I was scrolling through the gallery list, a number of familiar faces and names are here as well. I'm also delighted we've got people participating from outside the district. That's the beauty of operating now in this new virtual normal that all of us are living through. As Jim mentioned, I think one of my primary responsibilities is to oversee the Rotary Secretariat. We currently have about 750 employees worldwide in our Secretariat. Our headquarters, as you know, are in Evanston. We have about 550 employees there and another 200 in our 7 offices outside the United States. And it became very clear to me back in January, just sort of watching the events unfold in China, and then my daughter's doing her graduate studies in Paris and France, and just being on the phone with her and just hearing what was happening in Italy and France and other places. And it became very obvious to me that this wave was going to hit the US eventually, hit the world, and that it wasn't going to be pretty. And so in January, we put together a COVID task force, and we took the months of January and February to get ready to move our organization to sort of the new virtual reality that I felt was almost inevitable. We sorted out our technology systems, and I sent everybody home for a day, the entire Secretariat, to try to do a trial run of working from home to see how we would work. I'm glad I did it. We were able to iron out a number of glitches in the system. And then on March 12th, we went to full work at home status, which was significantly earlier than the state of Illinois and most other organizations. And so the safety and health of our employees, our volunteers, our consultants was really first and foremost. And I'm very pleased that, unfortunately, we have 8 of our Rotary staff that has tested positive for the virus. All are recovering and doing well. But I think it's good to know that at least all of them appear to have contracted the virus well after the 2-week period. In other words, well after March 26th, which would have been 2 weeks after we had gone to work at home status. So very pleased that no employee appears to have contracted COVID due to working at Rotary. And so we at the Secretariat are fully operational. We're operating at full bore. In fact, in some ways, I suspect my colleagues who are on this call can attest we're actually more busy than ever. I know I certainly am. It's so easy now to get online and have meetings and Zoom events with Rotarians around the world that it seems to start for me at 7 in the morning and end at midnight. And the nice thing about it is the cost is zero, and you can do it from the comfort of your office. So I wanted to just to assure you that operationally Rotary is operating at full tilt. All of the services, at least to the extent that they can be provided in the virtual environment, are continuing to be provided, and that the Secretary continues in full force supporting your work and the work of Rotarians around the world. Now, a question I get quite a bit in these events is, what's going to happen to membership? Obviously, we see economic difficulties throughout the world. The U.S. unemployment is 30 million, 28 million. The extraordinary number of people currently out of work. And so, what I asked Tom Thorfinson, who is our Chief Strategy Officer, to do is and we have a PhD statistician on staff, to take a look at the 115 years of Rotary's history and all the data, and what has happened to membership during all the great crises, world wars, depressions, pandemics, etc., that the world has faced in the last 115 years. And what was interesting was that there was only 1 year in our history where membership fell significantly during these crises. And that was 2 years after the Great Depression ended, and our membership fell a little bit over 5%. And all the other crises that we've lived through, the membership decline has been in the range of 1%, 1.5% during the Great Recession, 08, 09. And then if you tack on the EU debt crisis, membership fell during the 2 years of the Great Recession at 0.5% each year. And each percent in membership drop represents about 800,000 in lost revenues to Rotary International. But your board and your senior leaders have been very prudent through the years and have built up, both for Rotary International and the Rotary Foundation, very, very healthy reserves. The RR reserve is now around $70 million. And again, each 1% drop in membership represents about 800,000 in lost revenue. So we have a very healthy cushion to absorb any loss in membership. But again, we are projecting out, again, using sort of statistical modeling, sophisticated modeling, that we don't anticipate a significant drop in membership during the course of this pandemic. Of course, you never know. Past performance is no guarantee of future performance. What we do, however, anticipate statistically is that there will be a drop-off in contributions to the annual fund. And so that's going to be a challenge for our organization. Now, what's historically happened is that it drops off during the crises and then sharply begins to grow again and spike after the crisis has passed. So I would simply like to assure you that operationally, Rotary International is sound, and financially, we are on sound footing. And I'll talk in a minute about some of the challenges some of the issues we need to confront as we sort of try to retain our membership and make sure the membership continues to at least stay flat and not fall. Disaster Response Fund. Jim outlined what your district has done in this sense. The trustees, shortly after the crisis began unfolding, allocated $3 million to this Disaster Response Fund. Each district can apply for a grant of up to $25,000. We've received about 288 grant proposals so far from the districts. 100 and all but 114 have been now allocated. We've spent about $4 million, $3 million from the original bucket, plus another $1 million that's come from DDF, such as ones that your district provided. We've received outright cash donations to the Disaster Response Fund, and also, as you're aware, the convention unfortunately had to be canceled, the convention in Honolulu, and everyone's getting a full refund, but there is an option to direct your refund to the COVID Response Fund, and we've had a lot of Rotarians who've been extremely generous in doing that as well. So we've had about $4 million in the pot in the pot so far. As you're aware, we had a telethon recently that was very successful. We had about 65,000 views, and we raised over $500,000 in that telethon, and that will of course go toward COVID. So certainly from an international perspective, we've stepped up. We've got global grants totaling about $10 million that have come in, global grant proposals. So from an international level, we'll be moving about $14 million. And that doesn't even take into account all the money that's being raised locally, that's being channeled into COVID locally. So Rotary has stepped up and is doing its part in helping our communities in this very, very difficult time. Also get a lot of questions on polio, what's happening to the polio eradication effort in light of social distancing. And unfortunately, the Global Polio Eradication Initiative decided to suspend the door-to-door vaccination campaigns, again, in light of social distancing. However, surveillance work continues, and we are beginning to repurpose the polio infrastructure to participate in the fight against COVID. If you recall back several years ago in West Africa, when the Ebola crisis hit, the emergency operation centers, particularly in Nigeria, which were the polio emergency operation centers, were very successfully redeployed to combat Ebola. And we're doing the same now with the polio infrastructure with respect to COVID. However, having said that, we still need to continue our fundraising efforts to ensure that we raise the $50 million this calendar year so that we can get that 2-to-1 $100 million match from the Gates Foundation. So we need to continue to work hard at that, and we can't forego this Gates match. It's a difficult time, of course, but we can't forget that this will be over at some point, and we will still continue to need the funding to support the polio eradication effort. A lot of questions, not a lot, but questions coming in on, not so much from the States, but from other parts of the world about, are we going to suspend or waive RI dues? You know, RI dues are $68 a year, $34 semi-annually. The vast cost of being a Rotarian is in your meals, district dues, club dues, etc. And those have, all over the world, plummeted to almost zero as people are meeting in an online format and not having the lunches, etc. Yet the work, as I described, the work of Rotary International continues at full bore and full pace. And so at present, there's no move to either diminish or suspend dues. However, if individual clubs run into difficulty, certainly through your governor, we're willing to entertain requests to postpone or defer the payment of dues. We've received requests from less than 1% of clubs in the world, and they all tend to be coming from one specific region. So, but again, that's a current story on where we are on dues waiver or dues decrease. You know, I think that in every crisis, as terrible as it is, there's often a silver lining. And I think that as terrible as this is, and as much suffering that both economic and personal that this is causing, I think for Rotary as an organization, this is a moment where we can turn this difficult situation into a huge positive. Because very often necessity is the mother of invention, the mother of innovation. And this is a great opportunity for us as an organization to begin innovating, experimenting, thinking about new ways of doing things. As you may recall, a 2016 Council on Legislation gave clubs tremendous flexibility in how to structure their club meetings, their membership. In other words, what sort of product you're offering to the marketplace. And let's be, let's not, we can't sugarcoat it. Membership worldwide has been flat for the last 25 years at 1.2 million. And that's only because we're seeing significant rise in membership in parts of Asia and developing world. Membership in the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the UK is dropping. for the first time in Rotary's history, North American Rotarians make up less than 30% of worldwide Rotarians. You know, it started at 100% by definition back in 1905, and we're now down to 29% and dropping. North America will be about 10% of Rotarians, 10 to 15% in the next 10 years if current membership trends continue. So even prior to this COVID crisis, we did have, to be honest, and unfortunately, a membership issue in the United States. And so what that tells me is that we're offering a certain kind of product in North America, and that product is, and I say this not in like we're selling soap or something, we're selling an idea, a vision, a set of values, which of course can never change. The four-way test, those are immutable, but we're offering people an experience, the club experience, in return for their money and their time. And we're finding that at least in many parts of North America, people are either not buying our product, or when they buy it, they don't like it. We had 150,000 people leave Rotary last year, or join Rotary, I'm sorry, and we had 150,000 people leave Rotary. And so in some ways we have almost more of a retention than a recruitment problem. And, you know, and as part of our statistical analysis, we also looked at historically, sort of at a worldwide level, and this will vary from region to region in the world. When do people tend to leave Rotary? And the data is quite clear. The longer you stay in Rotary, the less the probability that you will leave. And the really sweet spot, that difficult period when most, on the whole, most people tend to leave Rotaries between their second and third year of membership. And so as we look now at trying to keep our membership strong and vibrant, if the data is accurate, we really need to focus on those of our members who are 2 or 3 years into their membership in Rotary. That statistically, and again, it varies from club to club and person to person, of course, but if you look at it at a macro level, that is that vulnerable period when people tend to leave Rotary. And so back, you know, we now have tremendous flexibility to fashion a product that the marketplace will find attractive. And who knows, we may actually find we are increasing membership. This online format that we're now operating in is very attractive to younger people. It's the world that they live in all the time. I see my daughter, actually, we brought her home from Paris to ride this thing out with us. She's continuing all her graduate studies, hasn't missed a beat socially, because most of the time she's on her computer anyhow. And nothing has really changed. So I think there's an opportunity here for us to pivot, to continue to grow, and to utilize this moment to innovate and to take our organization in a new direction. Rotaract, you know, Rotaract clubs are now members of the Association of Rotary International, and Rotaract is obviously an area globally where we have, in my view, not done a good job of transitioning Rotaractors to Rotarians. 95% of Rotaractors do not become Rotarians. And these are young men and women who are passionate about Rotary. They bought into our values and what we're all about, and yet only 5% of them become Rotarians. So I would suggest that this is an ideal time to really reach out to our Rotaractors. One, they're fantastic at organizing stuff in the virtual space. But secondly, it's an easy way to connect with them, to bring Rotary and Rotaract closer together, and really help facilitate that glide path between Rotaract and Rotary. So before I close, I just sort of have five quick calls to action that I think as an organization we need to be focusing on right now. One is, of course, member retention. We've got it's been extraordinary how quickly Rotarians have adapted to this new normal. I'm getting all kinds of anecdotal evidence, and we're now doing some surveying on this to get real data, that, you know, clubs are saying we're getting attendance in the 90% range. We used to get 40% attendance. Boy, we used to meet 4 times a month in person. We're thinking, gee, maybe we can only meet 3 times a month, and maybe once we do a virtual meeting. Of course, e-clubs have been meeting virtually since day one. But you know, so there's a lot of enthusiasm now, and a lot of, ironically and paradoxically, a lot perhaps more connectivity among Rotarians than we used to have, because it's now so easy to connect, and everyone's kind of sheltering in place and has a situation where it's possible to do that. So my call to action number 1 is member retention. Let's really focus on those members who are newest to Rotary. Keep them engaged, keep them interested, because that's the vulnerable statistically, at least, that's the most vulnerable Rotarian to perhaps leave our organization. Second, we have a challenge in terms of doing projects that require physical work or physical getting together in this virtual environment. In other words, if we're raising money and passing money along to organizations to purchase things, that's still pretty straightforward and can be done. But many of our projects are pancake days, walkathons, a lot of our fundraising, it's how are we going to be undertaking our sort of non-check cutting projects in this new virtual space? And that's where we really need to unleash the creativity of our 1.2 million Rotarians to really come up with creative solutions and ways that we can do things, continue to make the world a better place while we're all sheltering in place. Third, fundraising, same issue. A lot of our fundraising activities are, events, $1 million dinners, conferences, face-to-face meeting with donors, passing the hat around at club meetings. It's walkathons, pancake days, bike rides, etc. We need to put our creative thinking caps on now and come up with creative solutions to raise money. I know I was meeting with the Ukrainian Rotarians. They had a district-wide call, one of these, and and one of the clubs there raised a lot of money. They held a virtual beer fest where people were buying beers, virtual beers of different types. And I think at the end of the day, somebody got a real case of beer delivered to their front door. But it was, it worked in Ukraine. They raised a boatload of money. People found it interesting way to raise money. So the third is we really need to begin thinking creatively of how to raise funding in these difficult times. Fourth, a lot of clubs are more active than ever, more connected than ever, but we suspect there are a lot of clubs that also aren't. And if a club goes 4 or 5 months without meeting, that's kind of going to be the end of that club, I would suspect. And so to the extent any of your fellow clubs are struggling, or you're aware of clubs that aren't meeting, or, we need to band together, unite together, and make sure all our clubs are united, meeting, participating. If they've got technological issues, let's help them out. Let's get our Rotaractors involved to help them out. So because non-meeting clubs really means the end of that club, and we need all our clubs to be strong, vibrant, and continuing to meet. And then finally, my last point is that the sky in some ways is maybe falling around us, but I think in the Rotary space it's not. Again, we're organizationally sound, we're financially sound. I think our members are more engaged than ever. So let me just close by saying, in my view at least, this is Rotary's historic moment. This is our moment. There is no organization, or very few organizations in the world are as well positioned, as poised as Rotary to make a difference in this global pandemic. We have deep roots in almost every single community in the world. I like to say that there's not a politician on earth, except for a few, maybe the North Koreas and the Syrias of the world, that does not have a Rotarian as a constituent. And so Rotary in some ways was made for moments such as this. And so the world needs Rotary now more than ever. Like Herb Brooks, I don't know those of you who saw Miracle on Ice, when he's giving that pep talk in the locker room before they go out to play the Soviet, and say, this is our time, this is our moment. And I suspect for Rotary, we're in a similar sort of situation. So again, thank you for everything you're doing. Thanks for staying engaged with our organization. Thanks for the tremendous work that 5870 is doing to support your local hospitals. And again, we here at the Secretariat are here to support you. We're going to get through this difficult time, and I am confident that we will come out of this stronger as an organization, stronger as individuals, and really we'll see sort of an even greater era in terms of Rotary, our impact on our communities, on our regions, on our countries. So thanks again for having me, and if we've got some more any time, I'm more than happy to take some questions, comments, and thoughts from you. So thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. It was very inspiring. I zoned out into your talk, so it was like I just could hear you for a long time. And I just have to say that you are so right that we are the #1 service organization on the planet. We are here. We're rooted in the communities around the world, and this is our time to really rise up and take care of all the needs of our communities. And so Thank you for your leadership, and thank you for everything your staff is doing. And with that, we're going to start with some Q&A. DG Jim, would you like to start?
Yeah, and I also want to, Secretary John, thank you so much for being with us and sharing your insights. I've got to tell you, I know I noticed that one of our club and district support officer, Nick Taylor, is on with us, and I've got to applaud him for all the help that he's been for me throughout this year. Every time I've asked a question, he's had the answer right there, and that's true with all the Rotary staff that we have dealt with here in District 5870. So I applaud your staff for everything you've done. One question I wanted to, just kind of in the back of my mind, I've been in Rotary a long time, and I know some of the folks here have been in a long time, some haven't been in for that long a time. And we know what Rotary's doing now, what we're involved in and what we're doing. I'm interested in what your thought is about maybe in the past, one of Rotary's most significant achievements as far as getting a new organization started, what impact we've had on the world by Rotarians starting an organization or being involved in an organization. I know there's a lot of those that we've been involved in, but in your opinion, what do you think is our biggest worldwide impact as far as how it impacted the world years ago and how it's still impacting the world?
Yeah, thanks, Jim. That's both a straightforward and a somewhat difficult question. You know, the good thing is it makes it hard to answer your question simply because we do so much. I mean, I think, first of all, if you look at sort of two big ticket things that we've done, one is the role that Rotarians played in promoting peace and leading to the United Nations. There's no question that Rotary as an organization, its focus on worldwide peace and the work of Rotarians in San Francisco in 1945 had a huge impact on the United Nations. UNESCO is a result of a resolution passed at a Rotary convention in the UK, I've forgotten the year, in England, that led directly to the creation of UNESCO. So on a global level, we've had a tremendous impact in terms of institutions such as UNESCO, you know, the United Nations framework and the broader area of global peace. Our youth exchange programs. You know, I have the privilege of representing Rotary at a lot of international conferences, at Davos in Switzerland, other places like that. And I can't tell you how many times I'll come up to, I don't know, CEO of a Fortune 500 or Fortune 100 company or a minister or a head of state and say, you know, I'm John Hewko, General Rotary International. And they go, oh, Rotary, I was a exchange student in Chile in high school. It changed my life. I'm here doing what I'm doing. My life was shaped by that Rotary experience, that exchange. And then I'll ask, oh, really? Fantastic. So it changed your life. Do you have any idea what Rotary is up to today? Nope. Have we been in touch with you? Nope. But I do know it changed my life. And so, you know, we through our youth exchange program, make extraordinary impact on young people and the ripple effect that's having. In fact, that's one thing we need to do a much better job, and we're trying to do that now, of staying in touch with our alumni, whether it be RILA, Rotaract, Interact, whatever, youth exchange, because that's a huge pool of potential supporters of Rotary. And of course, polio, right? I mean, that's an extraordinary effort. Think about it. Each and every one of us are supporting this effort. And when we eradicate polio, we'll have left a legacy for as long as mankind inhabits the earth. For me, that's a very powerful thought. How many people can go to their grave knowing that they've played a meaningful role in leaving a legacy that will exist for as long as mankind inhabits the earth? So on a macro level, it's incredible. And of course, on the local level, my God, there's millions and millions of stories of what our Rotary projects have done to affect the lives of people. So I can't answer your question directly, Jim, because it's a wealth of impact. I could give you 50 pages of. That's the beauty of our organization.
It is, and I appreciate that. You know, a lot of people really don't know the worldwide influence that we've had on things like the UN and UNESCO, and even before we started polio, you go all the way back to the March of Dimes and the influence that we had there. So there's just so many things worldwide that we've influenced, either directly or indirectly, that organizations have grown as a result of Rotary. So thank you for your answer.
Yeah.
And I'll have to say that for those of you who have heard Amber and I's talk, where we start with Rotary talking points, Secretary Hewko was the inspiration of that. I don't know if you remember this, but years ago we met in Utah and we had about 10 minutes in our small group, and you actually spent an hour and a half with us. It was a wonderful discussion about all the incredible things Rotary does around the world. And it just blew me away and inspired me to take that message, and Amber and I continue to try to spread it, because it's really incredible. We're really a part of such an incredible organization and very proud to be a part of it. Amber, we have some questions. You're muted.
Unmute yourself, Amber. Unmute yourself, Amber.
Thank you. I forgot. First question right off the bat, we need to know if that background is real there, Secretary Hewko, or where are you speaking to us from?
No, this is the view from the balcony. I have a second home in Park City, Utah. So this is the view from our balcony in the wintertime. You know, Chicago, the weather has just been, so we don't have nice weather. Summers, there's no spring in Chicago, unfortunately. I know this is being recorded and my fellow Chicagoans won't like this, but you know, good weather doesn't come till June. So I just was like sick of the gray and the rain and the overcast. I said, I want to at least have a nice background.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That one was a little bit of fun, but on a more serious note, can you address what is going on or happening with the Peace Fellow program?
Yeah, the Peace Fellow program obviously continues. We're going to, you know, we obviously, there's questions as to, you know, will people be able to travel? Will universities be holding their classes? It's still all being resolved and dealt with. But again, to answer Jim's question, the Peace Fellows is another extraordinary program of Rotary. Every year, those of you may not be aware, we give around 50 full scholarships for students to do master's degrees at 7 universities with whom we have relations around the world. And we also send about 50 to a short 3-month program, certificate program in peace and conflict resolution to Chulalongkorn University in Thailand. So we now have, I think, 900, I've forgotten the exact number of Peace Fellow alumni. And so another great feather in Rotary's cap, and a lot of people that we've been able to help that are now making a real difference in the peace arena in the world.
Excellent, thank you. Patrick, I think you had a talking points question for us.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to cover this real quick from Bonnie. She said, for a small club, the largest costs are training of president and president-elect training, like pets and stuff like that. Is there any plans in the future to maybe lower those costs or allow clubs that can't afford to send their president-elects to get sort of a scholarship for that year or anything like that?
No, that's a great question. I appreciate that for some clubs that could be a burden. I think one of the beauties of, or one of the potential positive knockoffs of this pandemic is that we're now moving all these pets and gets and all this training to online format. I just participated in the pets in Bolivia. The Bolivian district had their pets online, and it was great. And the cost was zero, of course. And so I suspect that as the Rotary world becomes very comfortable in this virtual environment, that these technological solutions will help address some of these cost issues for people needing to travel or take time off, etc. And you're certainly going to make, you know, part of the challenge we face in terms of certainly at the governor level, and I suspect maybe even at the club, at the governor level, is that it's kind of almost become a full-time job. And unless you're either retired or independently wealthy or have your own company, it's almost impossible for somebody who's in their, I don't know, mid-career or senior person, sort of mid to end career, to take 2 years off to become a governor. It is possible, but it's not easy. And so I think, again, when I talked earlier about change, it's really this sort of change. I'm wondering now, for example, we own our building in Evanston, 18-story building, beautiful building. We use half, we rent the other half. It's a premier office building in North Shore, Chicago. And by the way, I invite all of you to come and visit us once the world opens up again. A lot to see, great tours, interesting exhibits. We're happy to have, you know, districts come and visit, and we do briefings for you, etc. So feel free to reach out to us once things open up and come and visit. But if half the world finds out that you can actually work from home and don't need to be in an office, what happens to offices? You know, do we even need a building? And, you know, what's going to happen to retail, real estate, office real estate, et cetera? So there's a whole slew of issues that are going to ripple from this thing. And I think one of them is going to be, we in Rotary are going to be operating in a different way, much more cost-effective way, in my view, much more efficient way, and which will bring down the overall cost of being Rotarian. The big unknown is, you know, how much of our effectiveness is a function of the personal interaction. And if that begins to diminish, how will that affect our organization? You know, we can all meet virtually now because most of us actually met in person, have established relationships. You know, will that be the same if you've got on a call 60 people who've never met each other personally. What'll that mean? But to answer that question again specifically, I think a lot of these cost issues can be remedied and will be solved through the use of technology going forward.
I think it's a great opportunity. I've noticed I've been to more Rotary Club meetings in different parts of the country in the last couple of weeks than I ever would have the opportunity to. So I think it's a great opportunity for all of us to visit different places, get to know Rotarians from all over. So thank you for that. Can you tell us a little bit about Volunteer Surge and the success of it so far and how it's all going and how that all started?
Yeah, I don't have the latest. It's certainly started, from what I understand, out in California. Rotarian Jim Margraf, great guy, and it's kind of its idea is to kind of build up a cadre of people who are trained to volunteer and to help in this COVID disaster. It seems to be catching on. It seems to be expanding around the world. I don't have the latest. I've been in sort of 10 days worth of finance committee meetings and other, trying to get the budget nailed down for next year. So Patrick, I don't have the latest on where that stands, but very neat initiative, and it's getting a lot of traction from what I can tell.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm halfway through my training.
Okay,
Amber.
Great.
I did have a question from Tom Grump, and we love seeing you, Tom, and I love you also named yourself D5870 Fan Club. That's really cute. He wanted to know where we were with the raising of the $50 million for polio this year. If you had any insight on that? Yeah,
I think this year we're, well, so far we're on track. Our annual giving for this Rotary fiscal year is we do have a bit of a cushion because we're running actually ahead before this crisis hit. And so I suspect for this year, our giving will come in okay by June 30th. I don't have the exact number for where we are on the polio 50 million because that's a calendar year calculation. We have to spend and raise and spend 50 million in any given calendar year to get the 100 million, which we usually get the check sometime in January the following year. I don't have, Amber, the latest figure, but it was on track, certainly pre-COVID, and even actually ahead of schedule.
That's great. Thank you.
Also, here I'm trying to, okay, so obviously we have an incredible infrastructure with the polio eradication and vaccine distribution. Is there a partnership happening right now behind the scenes or with the WHO or UNICEF to try to help with the COVID? I know we mentioned a little bit of that during the telethon, something like that. Could you elaborate a little bit about the partnership going on to try to help eradicate COVID-19 in that sense?
Yeah, obviously we're very engaged with UNICEF and WHO and the other partners in GPI on polio, and there are discussions on Rotary's participate. In fact, I just got an invitation to have Rotary participate in a summit that Gavi, the Global Vaccine Initiative, is putting on. And so yes, we are engaged in those conversations. Nothing formal has yet been determined or announced. So the bulk of our work right now is really through our clubs, our global grants, these disaster response grants, and all the local work that's being done by Rotarians. We are also, by the way, we have some good news coming up shortly. I can't announce it yet because it hasn't fully been finalized, but we have been working very closely with governments around the world to see if we can secure significant grants to be given to Rotary to be used for COVID and other activities. And I think we're on some very successful conversations going on in Europe and with our government here in the United States. And I hope to have really good news to announce shortly on that front.
Thank you so much. And I know there's more questions coming in. We're running out of time, so I apologize if we did not get to any of your questions, but I think we covered most of them. I wanted to ask you finally, I know you know everything. I mean, you're on the ground all over the world, seeing what Rotary is doing all over the world. Is there one or two things that have really inspired you during this changing time, watching Rotarians rise above this crisis and making a major impact in the community that maybe can inspire some Rotarians on this call? We've already been inspired for the last hour, but really can inspire these Rotarians on this call, all of us, to really rise above this and make a lasting impact.
Yeah. Well, again, it's, all of us, are used to meeting in person. We're all, being together, and that's always been the essence of Rotary, the fellowship and the work we do. And of course, now we're in a new kind of environment. But in spite of that, I think Rotarians have really stepped up. I think for me, a great example is Italy. What the Rotarians in Italy have done. That country went to hell and back on this COVID. in terms of in this COVID. And the Italian Rotarians have stepped up and put millions and raised and come up with millions and millions of dollars to help the effort there. With one of the governments we're working with, we needed them to come up with a $1.4 million proposal almost in 48 hours to be able to present to get some of this funding. They pulled it off. I've been extraordinarily impressed with what I've seen in Italy. And that's just one example, right? There's, India, Bangladesh. I mean, I'm just getting flooded with emails of Rotarians around the world and countries and districts that are stepping up and doing extraordinary things. But I think one that just kind of really jumps to mind is how the Italian Rotarians, but that's not the only example. There's thousands.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
We did have a question that I'm kind of interested in too, Secretary John. A question from KC in our West Austin Club is our partnership with Shelterbox, and if Shelterbox has been able to reposition itself in any way to help either people in quarantine, or how is Shelterbox responding to this particular type of disaster, if you know?
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. I had a call with their new CEO about early in mid-March, a couple months ago, and they were just beginning the thought process of reframing themselves in terms of, okay, how do they need to change in light of this, in terms of this COVID response. I don't know the technical answer whether you can use a shelter box for quarantine. I suspect you could. I mean, it is a place you can shelter in, and et cetera. But I don't know the answer, Jim, in terms of how they wound up pivoting, because he and I, we had, we were kind of brainstorming and talking, and his organization was just, Shelterbox was in that process right now. It's a good question. I'll need to follow up and find out what they did, what they wound up ultimately doing.
Well, thank you so much. I just want to say again, if we have Jim, Amber, anything else before we?
No,
well, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Secretary Hewko, for taking time out of your busy schedule. It's an honor to have you. And we want to thank you on behalf of everybody here for everything you do, not only for Rotary, the Rotary Foundation, but for humanity as a whole. We really, really appreciate it. Yeah. So thank you for doing it.
Thank you.
We wish you and your staff all the best moving forward. And we're rooting for you guys. Thank you for all you do.
Well, thank you, and we're rooting for you guys. You're the work you're doing God's work, and so thank you for everything you do, and we're here to support you. And we will get through this. We'll get through this stronger, and we'll get back to the fellowship, to the sort of the human contact that all of us so much enjoy and need. So thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I wanted to have PDG Rich K. You wrote something on the chat. Do you want to say what you wrote on the chat? If you're still.
No, there was more for Rotarians in the district, but
okay, cool.
What he's referring to is, John, we believe we're going to exceed $600,000 in annual fund contributions this year, and probably exceed $200,000 in polio.
That's awesome. Thank you, Rich. Appreciate it. And thank you for everybody for all you do. Coming up next week, it is a great honor to have Rotary International President-elect Holger Kanak coming to join us and to talk about the future of Rotary and the Rotary, what's it going to look like this next year. And it's just going to be an awesome program. We hope to have everybody here. Please go and invite not only fellow Rotarians in your club, but fellow Rotarians that might not know this is happening. We'd love to have a wonderful crowd full of people from all over. But this is also a good time to invite fellow potential members, people that have been like, what is this Rotary that you're so into and does such great work in the world? Well, invite them on the call. I think this is going to be a great program for them to hear from our president-elect, and we look forward to having you. It is going to be a time change. So this will be Friday at noon. So next week, Friday at noon, because it would be 11 o'clock at night Germany time if we did it at 4 o'clock, and we thought we'd be nice. Let them talk at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. So we hope everybody can make it Friday at noon on May 15th. And also, if Amber, you want to show your screen real quick?
Yeah, sure did. I'm going to do a little screen sharing here just to remind everybody of the district website. Is it coming through now? There we go.
There we go.
So a big thank you to Pam Blankenzy, who keeps our website looking so pretty. But right here under the events tab, there is a page for Zoom series, Staying Connected as Rotarians. Just as a reminder for anybody that's new on here, all of our previous recordings are listed here on the left-hand side. So as soon as we get done, we get it recorded and posted up here. And then the links to get in for next week's will be here. Same link, it'll just be at a different time next week. So at noon, meet us here. And there's our
Also, if you have a service project that is going really well in your community and you do not see it on our district website in that living document, please send it to Pam or Amber or myself in that order. And we'll make sure to give it, put it on there. We'd love to have a great list, and we have a great list already, but a great list of service projects that are continuing, that are working in the community, so clubs can get some ideas and also collaborate. Also, please go listen to these, like for instance, we have Helen Reisler and Andreas's program on there. That was an incredible program. So tell your club members, hey, go to the district website. Friends of ours from around the world, go to our website. Listen to these great programs, because they really have a lot of inspiration in them, and we'd love to share it with everybody. We are also going to be having more, yes, go ahead. Yes, you have a question, John.
Not a question, comment. These programs like Helen's and even today John's make good programs for clubs who are having a hard time getting speakers.
That's a great idea. That is an awesome idea. And it's actually, Pam has put them into our YouTube channel. So it's really easy to just push the button and enlarge the screen, and you can have it on TV. That's a great idea.
I'm going to jump in here real quick too and mention that Helen had made a comment in here that they're in New York and their club, and I think in a lot of clubs, are actually seeing new members coming in because of the ability and flexibility of our Zoom meetings with good presentations that are available to them from the comfort of their own home. So take these opportunities, guys. Invite your neighbors, invite your friends to come join you.
We also have more exciting programs ahead. We can't announce everything yet because the logistics aren't confirmed, but stay tuned. We have exciting programs through the rest of this Rotary year and hopefully beyond. So we're always open to feedback, as well as if you have any program ideas, anybody you're like, hey, I'd really like to see this person, send us an email. We'll work on booking them. And we, again, really appreciate all the support. Director Susie, I wanted to give you a chance. Do you want to say anything?
I'm thrilled that y'all are pulling your district together. You're inviting guests. Your speakers are outstanding. It's a great example. Make sure that y'all talk to people that you don't see on here. Make sure they're okay. Thank you very much.
That's a really good point. And that's a great point for clubs like Amber. I think you brought that up in your club meeting this week. It's like, where's so-and-so? So reach out and say, there's really not, I mean, we'll help you get on Zoom. So thank you, Director Susie, and thank you for being here. Jim, anything else from you?
I just want to, again, thank all of our guests and special guests and our speaker for being with us today. But lest we forget, I especially want to thank all the members and Rotarians in District 5870 for being with us. This is for you. This is, we wanted to keep our district together, and that's 6 weeks ago when we started this. That was the first thing that we wanted to do, was make sure that we all stay connected together with each other. We not only see each other, but we share ideas, we share projects. We share what Rotary means to all of us. So an especial welcome and an especial thank you for all the members and Rotarians in District 5870 that are here. I hope if you like what you see, you'll take it back to your clubs and you'll publicize it. We're going to do this probably until the end of the Rotary year, at least. And so we're going to be here. We'll try to be here for you. And again, thank you for being here, and spread the word among your clubs. So Patrick, back to you.
Thank you, Jim. I want to have Dwayne just wrote in the chat here that he has a musical quote from New York that he thought would be fitting at this time. And I thought I would let you share that before we wrap things up. Dwayne?
Not me.
Hey, sorry. Thank you, Dwayne, for letting me take the chair here. There is a wonderful play, and I've got the CD I listen to once in a while for inspiration, and it's been a while. But John, you said something that hit my heart and hit this song. It's a play called Jekyll and Hyde, and it was a play probably 15, 20 years ago. And it was a big hit on Broadway. And one of the big songs from that is a song called This Is the Moment. And I tear up thinking about it because you said to Rotary, this is our moment. Does everyone agree that they heard that?
Yes.
This is, and the song goes, and I'm not going to sing it, but the song goes, this is the moment, this is the day. Every endeavor that I have ever is coming into play. It's here and now today. This is when Jekyll became Hyde. But this is our moment. This is the day. And it's such a wonderful inspirational song. Try to Google it, try to find it. But this is the moment. This is the day. It's a wonderful song. It's very inspirational. And I couldn't help but share that with y'all. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you so much. That was a perfect ending to our program today. Again, I want to apologize to anyone. We did not get your questions. There are a lot of questions and we just didn't have as much time, but if we can answer any of those offline, we'll make sure to get them to you. Thank you again to General Secretary Hewko, the entire the RI staff that was on today, to Director-elect Susie Howe, who is one of our own, and we love her here in Texas. Thank you, Susie, for being here. For all of our guests from all over the world, and especially our District 5870 Rotarians, it means a lot to us that you're here. Thank you so much. Happy Mother's Day, Grandmother's Day, Stepmother's Day, Godmother's Day to all the mothers out there. I hope you have a wonderful Mother's Day. Again, don't miss next week, Friday at noon, and it's the same link. That's the secret. Don't tell everybody, but it's the same link, so you don't have to go find another link, and spread the word, and we hope to see everyone here next week. Have a great weekend. Be safe, and go out there and serve the world. Thanks a lot. And now,
I'm going to unmute everybody so we can all say
it's
goodbye
time
to
to
each other.
fellowship.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Good to see y'all.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
John.
you, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Peter and John, thanks
Bye.
for joining.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, classmates. John,
Everybody.
Tom, Steve, thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Awesome to see y'all. Hi, Jeff.
Yeah,
How are you?
thanks for everybody that was here. We really appreciate you being here.
Bonnie, thanks for making it.
Gene's
Jim,
still
can
trying
you
to
hear
figure
me?
out
How to get unmuted. So
All I want to say is you guys are awesome. You're a great job.
Oh, thanks, Peter.
Jim,
Peter,
See you soon.
I'm
Jim,
glad
can
you're
you
with
hear
us.
me?
I'm glad you could join us.
Somebody's talking, asking about Jim. Who is that?
It's Ditas from Northwest.
Edith.
Hey,
Oh.
Ditas.
Jim, is this a good time to tell you something about Rotary history, or do you want me to call you back?
You can call, you can if you want to now. We're losing. We've only got a few people left on the screen. So if you want to call me back,
no,
why don't you?
This is for you. I'll just call you later. Bye-bye.
Okay, I'll be here. Goodbye, Ditas.
Hey, Bowles.
bye. Good to see you.
Good to see you guys.
Good to see y'all.
Thank you.
Bye. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
See you all later.
Bye. Good to see you.
Sorry you didn't get to see my new haircut. So
Next
go
time,
back-
Tina, go get a
Go
computer.
get an up-to-date computer, Buckley, and we see you next time.
I don't know how much you paid for it, Buckley.
Rich K, why are you hiding your face from us today?
doing you a favor.